Have you ever felt like you're trying your hardest and still nothing works? You prepared carefully and the results never came. You treated people with sincerity and somehow it still fell flat. No matter how many times you tried, you kept hitting the same wall. When days like that pile up, a quiet voice begins to speak inside you. Maybe my approach is wrong. Maybe I simply don't have what it takes. Maybe I need to push harder, be stronger, try more. But here's what happens when you push too hard. Your body tightens, and a rigid body breaks at the slightest impact. Think of a tree branch in a storm. The ones that resist the wind, that brace and push back, those are the ones that snap. But today's story might offer you something different, a quiet kind of relief. You don't have to be strong. You're allowed to be soft. You're allowed to flow. The Buddha spoke of exactly this 2,500 years ago, using something as simple and ordinary as water. The story I want to share with you today is about a young disciple and the Buddha. He was a passionate young man, earnest, full of heart. He had studied the teachings deeply, and more than anything, he wanted to share them with others. One day, he came before the Buddha with a request. "Teacher," he said, "I wish to travel to a distant land and bring your teachings to the people there. Please, give me your blessing." But this land was known for something troubling. Its people were fierce, hot-tempered, unkind to strangers. The Buddha looked at him quietly and asked, "If the people there insult you and speak cruelly to you, what will you do?" "I will bear it," the young man replied. "At least they haven't struck me. And if they strike you, I will endure it. At least they haven't used weapons. And if they wound you with weapons, I will still endure it. At least they haven't taken my life. And if they take your life?" The young man paused, then gently he answered, "Teacher, there are those in this world who take their own lives to escape suffering. But if my life is taken while I'm doing what I believe in, perhaps that too is a kind of grace." The Buddha smiled, slowly, warmly. "Go," he said. "You are ready. You will thrive there." And so the young man set off for that distant, difficult land. Before the first rainy season had even ended, 500 people had gathered to hear his words. Water doesn't fight the stones in its path. It doesn't argue with them or demand they move. It simply shifts, quietly, patiently, and flows around them. And yet, given enough time, water shapes even the hardest rock. That young disciple moved through the world just like water. What can we take from this story into our own lives? Notice what the Buddha was looking for in that young man. It wasn't toughness. It wasn't fearlessness. It wasn't power. What he saw was suppleness, an inner softness that could bend without breaking. In Buddha's teaching, there is a word for this quality. It's sometimes translated as patient endurance, but it's not what most of us picture when we hear those words. It isn't clenching your jaw and pushing through. It isn't swallowing pain and pretending everything is fine. Think of water again. When water meets a stone, it doesn't get angry. It doesn't blame the stone for being in the way. It simply adjusts and keeps moving. That is what this teaching really means. When we face difficulties, most of us instinctively reach for hardness. We think, "I need more willpower. I need to be stronger. I can't let this break me." But rigidity has a cost. Hard things shatter. Water, on the other hand, never shatters. Pour it into any vessel, and it takes that shape, without losing what it is. The Buddha also taught something often translated as impermanence, the truth that everything is always changing. Situations shift, people change. We ourselves are always in motion. To resist change is like planting your feet in a river and demanding the current stop. But to move with it, like water, is to discover that you can travel much, much further. The young disciple walked into a dangerous place not because he was fearless, but because he had made peace with every possible outcome. That softness was not weakness. It was the deepest form of strength. So, how do we actually live this way, this flowing like water in ordinary everyday life. Let's think about the workplace for a moment. Your manager says something unfair. A colleague takes credit for your work. An idea you spent weeks on gets dismissed in 30 seconds. Anger rises. Of course it does. Feelings are honest, they don't lie. But what usually happens next? We either charge at the situation, say something sharp, push back hard, or we swallow the anger whole, and it circles inside us for days. Both paths leave us exhausted. Now imagine water meeting a stone. It doesn't carry the collision with it. It moves around, flows on, and continues forward. And quietly, without any drama, it eventually surrounds that stone entirely. The next time someone at work says something that stings, you don't have to fight back. But you also don't have to hold the pain tightly inside. You can simply notice, there's a stone here, and gently, just slightly, shift the direction of your flow. The same is true in relationships. When we disagree with someone we love, our first instinct is to change them, to move the stone. But stones are heavy. That rarely works. When we soften our own approach instead, something unexpected often happens. The relationship begins to move on its own. And in parenting, perhaps nowhere is this truer. Children do not grow into the shapes we plan for them. The harder we try to fit them into a mold, the more both parent and child suffer. But when we flow around them, following their shape, learning their nature, something real and lasting takes root. Living like water is not the same as being swept away. It means holding your own direction, your own current, while receiving the world around you with open hands. Does that sound difficult? That's all right. You don't have to transform overnight. Just once today, when someone says something that would normally pull an immediate reaction from you, try pausing first. One breath, that's all. That one breath is how water begins. There is just one thing I want to leave with you today. You have been trying so hard for so long. You've hit walls and gotten back up. Hit walls and gotten back up again. And somewhere in all of that, you must have grown very tired. Water doesn't rush. It wanders, takes the long way around, finds unexpected paths, and still, eventually, it reaches the great wide sea. You are allowed to do the same. You don't have to hurry. You don't have to go in a straight line. When something is in your way, you can gently flow around it. That is enough. The wisdom the Buddha offered 2,500 years ago hasn't gone anywhere. It is still here, flowing quietly beside us, patient as water. Thank you, truly, for staying with me all the way to the end today. The fact that you are here, listening, that itself feels like a small and precious connection. Let's walk together again next time.